Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello and welcome back to Must Love Books podcast. Today I am here recording with Michael LaBorn. Michael, hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm super excited to have you on the show this week to talk about Left Unread Books. And I'm going to let you just go ahead and introduce yourself for our listeners, and then we'll dive right in.
My name is Michael LaBorn. I'm the founder of Left Unread Books, which is a publishing imprint under Bindery Books. And I am very focused on the fight for Black and Brown authors. And I'm really excited to talk about that today.
So first, let's go ahead and talk about Bindery Books. For any of our listeners who are not familiar, this just started, about a year ago?
Little under two.
Little under 2 years. Okay, excellent, excellent. Yeah, so tell us about it.
Yeah, Bindery is an independent publisher. Their focus is really on disrupting the industry and doing things a little bit differently. Our founders, Matt and Meg, were both involved in publishing to some degree prior to starting this company. Over the years, they realized that the landscape is kind of changing and publishing is not really keeping up with that. There is a lot that is being done by bookish influencers to really reinvigorate Americans' love for reading, as well as the way that books are impacting people. And they were like, why are we not capitalizing on that? So they decided to start a company that is centered around working directly with us to find the books that our audiences will love. And through them, several influencers, myself included, we're able to start our own actual publishing imprints where we are able to go out, find the authors who are speaking directly to our audiences, and to work in community to bring those authors' voices to bookstores around the country. And that is what we are doing now.
Which I love to see this so much. I am a huge advocate for indie publishing on the podcast, and I love just all the unique ways that we are discovering and sharing books and our love for reading and news stories with readers.
Absolutely.
So, how did you get started specifically through running an imprint of your own? Is that a challenging process to launch, or was it something pretty straightforward?
It can be pretty difficult. It was not super involved for me because I've been involved in advocating for authors for a while now. My community was very much built around the idea that Black and Brown authors, and particularly indie authors, deserve to be fought for, deserve to be championed. And so the people that already consume my content and already engaged with me were already in that fight. So when I said, hey guys, I have found a company that wants to give us the resources to do this at the next level, they were very on board. So it was really just a matter of spreading that message, building my community of people who are ready to fight for these authors, and showing Bindery that we were ready to do the work.
Do you want to talk about some of your books through Bindery? I know that you have a pre-order campaign currently for Cry Voidbringer.
Yeah, I would love to. So Cry
Yes.
Voidbringer is a anarchist dark fantasy, which is following a conscripted warrior who was taken as a child by a neighboring nation and raised as a warrior in their fight against a fading colonial power. It is a huge conversation, not just about colonialism, but about the impact that colonialism has on marginalized people, on our identity, the way that it shifts the way that we see ourselves, and how it can coerce us into picking up weapons against one another. There is a huge conversation in that book about what it looks like to pursue a freedom that benefits everyone. And that comes out October 28th. So it's right around the corner and I'm not ready. I'm so excited. And then after that, next spring, April 7th to be exact, our second book will be coming out, which is Devil of the Deep. And that is a Haitian mermaid and pirate story that is absolutely a scathing rebuke of Christian nationalism and the way that it has wielded colonial religion to strip marginalized people of our identity and of our cultural beliefs. And it's a challenge to marginalized people to fight like hell to pick up the thing that we were born to be.
You talk a little bit on your Bindery page about why pre-orders are so important, especially for supporting Black and Brown authors. Why don't you dive into that a little bit here?
I would love to. So the reality is the publishing industry is incredibly racist and misogynistic and homophobic. That it is fighting hard to cater to the ideologies that have given it its power. And because of that, there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens in this industry, and it is a lot harder for anyone that lives outside of the cishet white Christian male to really make it in this industry. And one thing that we can do to really fight to give Black and brown authors a fighting chance in this industry is to ensure that their books perform very well very quickly. Pre-order campaigns enable us to prove to publishing companies and to bookstores that those authors are not a risk, because the unfortunate truth is a lot of them are operating under the belief that they are. And that I'm not just talking about publishing companies, I'm talking about everyone in the industry. It is harder to get their books onto bookstore shelves. It is harder to get them into book boxes. It is harder to get them on lists. It is harder to get them taken seriously. When we have a really strong pre-order campaign where we are seeing a lot of people buy the book and just demonstrate that they are going to fight for that author, those companies are forced to stop in their tracks and take that author seriously. And that can really project and give them a better career going forward.
Must Love Books podcast was part of the pre-order campaign for Blood Moon by Brittany S. Lewis. And just being a step on that campaign, or a virtual step, I should say, on that campaign, helped me realize just how important pre-order campaigns are and how much they can really make a career and really just make the success of a novel. And I think you're 100% accurate in regards to how the publishing industry and the book community as a whole kind of treats marginalized voices when it comes to, supporting those pre-order campaigns. Certain authors can, say, hey, I've got a book coming out and it'll hit 1,000 pre-orders in, 5 minutes. Probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but honestly not too far of an exaggeration. Whereas there are so many incredible authors that deserve the same amount of support and love and fandom. That's why these campaigns are so important. So I'm really happy to talk about that here and to promote Cry Voidbringer and Devil of the Deep on the podcast. So I will continue to do that until those release. I will do that here with you as well, Michael, to continue pushing those. So please, listeners, check them out. Michael, why don't you tell them where they can find these pre-orders?
Well, they are available wherever you typically buy books. We are in most major retailers. You can find us on bookshop.org or, the big bad Amazon. Wherever you like to shop, you can find them, and they are available in hundreds of indie stores as well. And if they're not available in your favorite indie store, you can always ask for it. We are available on most of their distribution channels, so they can get that for you.
And of course, as I like to always remind my listeners, you can always request your local libraries to stock a copy for people to check out. And I think a lot of libraries, they will do this if they get requests for it. So the more that you request your local libraries, the more that they will carry these books, because that's what they're here for. They want to give books to you to listen and check them out for
Absolutely.
free. So definitely check in with your local libraries as well.
Please do.
Excellent, excellent. So currently you just have the 2 novels under Left Unread, or are there a couple more?
We have 2 more after that. They are not available for pre-order yet, but we have Buzzard, which is coming out in fall of 26, and that is a near future dystopian that is following the last midwife in the United States with the knowledge and the expertise to perform abortions in a very fascist country. And she is caught protecting people and performing those services for people who need them, and is imprisoned, where she discovers massive human rights violations and has to decide between kind of keeping her head down and hopefully one day getting out and seeing her sons again, or continuing her work of standing up for the marginalized. That is an incredible conversation about not only reproductive rights, but also just the importance of keeping our eyes open and seeing what's happening around us and constantly wrestling with our ability and our responsibility to end our complicity. After that, we have another one coming out in spring of 27. That is called From Our Blood. And that book is a dark academia horror, which is following a Black girl who has been accepted into a prestigious white institution, where she is discovering that there are opportunities that are only available to the people who exist in these places, and she wants them for herself. But after being there for just a little bit, she starts to discover the bodies of ex-Black students, and she ends up having to go on this journey of figuring out what is going on, who is killing Black students, hopefully before they get to her. And that is a conversation about the way that white institutions and white privileges are built on the bodies of Black people.
Wow, that honestly sounds like an incredible read.
It is.
I cannot wait. I'm like, are you sure that pre-order isn't ready yet? Because I would like to pre-order now.
Soon, it'll be available soon.
Because both of those novels sound incredible. So I will definitely be keeping an eye out for both of them.
Awesome. My goal here with Left Unread is not just to fight for Black and Brown authors, although that is the center of everything that I do, but my primary goal is to use my platform to strengthen the voices of people who are fighting for us. And I believe that all four of these authors are doing that. We are tackling things like colonialism, like Christian nationalism, like white privilege and anti-Blackness and reproductive rights. Every single one of these authors is saying something that I think the world needs to be challenged with. And I am so privileged and excited for the opportunity to use whatever influence that I have to make sure that people hear them.
Absolutely. And you know what? Consider this like an open invitation. If you have any authors that you want featured on the podcast, like just let me know. I technically haven't opened 2026 yet, but I'll consider this an official invitation. If any of your authors want to join me on the podcast to promote these books as they're, a little closer to their actual release days, like just let me know. We'll do it.
I love that. I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. No need to thank me. It's honestly, it's what the podcast is here for. I, started Must Love Books really to just talk about books and connect with some of my favorite authors. And it really did just start off just for me in that sense. But now that it has grown and I've connected with so many people that I just want to be able to use this podcast to support authors and even others in the book community. I've had some couple different indie companies on here as well. And I just want to be able to just support the community that I love and kind of give back to a community that has given so much to me.
I love that. I think that's an important mission.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it's something I'd love to see more book podcasts, kind of taking up now that we are kind of losing things like book talk, unfortunately. I think that now is really the time for book podcasts to kind of step up and help fill that space. And,
Yeah.
there's so many of them now. I have a networking group and there's over 100 book related podcasts out
Oh,
already.
wow.
And yeah, which I was shocked at, honestly. I had heard of like 5 when I first started, but it's been about a year and a half and now there's over 100 just in my networking group. And I know that there's more and more coming about every day. So I definitely encourage anyone who just loves books, grab a microphone, download Audacity, it's free, and make a podcast and tell everyone about the books you love.
I love that.
So, Michael, do you have anything else that you want our listeners to really kind of know about? Anything that you want to share? Any topics you want to go over?
Yeah, I would just say that we are living in perilous times. That's not news to anybody listening. And it can feel frivolous to be talking about and thinking about reading and watching movies and the arts as a whole. But I just want to remind everybody of the central role that the arts have always played in resistance, in building people's ability to dream of a better future, in strengthening their resolve to build that future. These stories matter. They do encourage people, they do challenge people, they do force people to wrestle with the world that they live in and the world that they could have if they would fight for it. So I would encourage you to lean into the arts rather than discard them in these perilous times and to take the energy that you are pulling away from the oppressive systems that you are realizing you need to throw away and to invest that into Black and brown art because Black and brown art will always drive humanity forward.
Absolutely. I've seen it said art is freedom, and I absolutely agree with that. I don't remember who I saw say that quote, but something along the lines of art is freedom, and as long as we have art, we can still fight for freedom.
Mm,
And that's something that I absolutely agree with. And I think that art is even more important in these perilous times, as you said. And, unfortunately, you can't turn on the news without seeing something awful
yeah,
and new happening. Art is more important than ever, and not just as a form of escapism, also because it's where we find hope and it's where we connect and where we can express ourselves and connect with each other. Art has always been used as a form of political speech. That's something that we've talked about on the podcast numerous times now, is how books are political. And the more that we support a huge variety of voices in the book community, the more that we keep this community open and connect with each other and just continue fighting the good fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last weekend, at our time of recording, we're currently recording during Banned Books Week, actually. You attended the Black Book Bash in Jacksonville. Why don't you, give a little bit of a shout out, a little bit of a review for any listeners who weren't able to attend?
Did, and it was absolutely incredible. For those of you who don't know, the Black Book Bash is a family reunion for Black readers, writers, publishing professionals, influencers, everybody in between. It was started by Casey Kelly, and it was a phenomenal event. I was able to connect with so many of the people that I get to interact with daily on the internet. I gave out way more hugs than I am usually willing to. We laughed, we drank, we ate, we hung out, we trashed books and celebrated books. We had so much fun. It was a blast. I really encourage everybody to be a part of it next year if you can.
It sounds like absolutely everything that we want from a book event. Unfortunately, there have been so many book conventions of late that have been embroiled in some form of controversy or other,
Yeah.
across a variety of reasons. So it's honestly just so good to see an event be successful and really focus on community.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there was a point there where I was like, I don't know if I want to do events anymore because so many have just gone south.
I feel that too. And, I wanted to start bringing the podcast to more events and, do live recordings. And then I booked my first convention, which was Romance Con. And then all of that happened with the team being unsupportive
Mm,
and just the whole controversy and how they didn't really support the trans community in the way that they claimed they were going to. And that was really disheartening, especially that being my first big book event I have ever
yeah.
attended with the podcast. Even personally, I have never been to a book convention before. That was my first experience, and that left me so just upset and sad.
Understandably.
And so I'm happy, just so happy to see that there are still events that are focused on community and focused on uplifting others and supporting others, and that are actually still just a good place to be.
Absolutely.
So, do you have anything else that you want to dive into? Anything that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would love to just encourage everybody that one of the things that is so important about what we're doing at Left Unread is that we're doing publishing differently. We are publishing in community. So it's not a popularity contest here. It is not me choosing stories that matter to me and ignoring what everybody else needs and what the audience wants. We do this together. And for that to work, we have to be in it together. One of the tenets of our model is that our community is publishing with us and is making decisions with us, and that includes not just our paid subscribers helping us to fund our projects, but also our subscribership as a whole being present to help us to talk about these authors, to talk about these books, and to just be in the fight together. So if you are listening and you would like to be a part of fighting for Black and Brown art, whether that is because you just love Black and Brown stories or because you agree with me that they have the ability to change the world, come subscribe at Left Unread books.bindarybooks.com. You can subscribe for free, or you can subscribe at $5, $12, or $25 a month and help us to fund our projects. All of it is useful.
So, for the subscribers, there a little more information that you can give to anyone who's not familiar with how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So it works like a bookish Patreon. You get exclusive access to exclusive content from myself, and that is content regarding the same thing you'd get on a Patreon, what I'm reading, what I'm going through, reviewing things like that. But in addition to that, our paid subscribers are also getting access to behind the scenes publishing information. So you're seeing covers before they are live. You're seeing covers before they're decided on. You are seeing excerpts from books. You are having interviews with the authors. You're having time where you get to chat with me, chat with the authors. You're getting a front row seat where you have the ability to offer insight, to offer feedback, and to have your voice heard. I think that that has been an incredible experience for a lot of my subscribers, whether that is people who just want a hand in producing these books or people who are wanting to publish themselves later, who are looking for behind the scenes information on how to get it done. I think all of that information is useful and available to our subscribers.
That is awesome. Well, thank you, Michael, so much for joining me today on Must Love Books podcast. And congratulations on the upcoming releases for Left Unread Books. Cry Voidbringer, Devil of the Deep pre-order campaigns are running now. So any listeners who are interested in checking these out, you can find them at any of your regular book retailers. You can also check out leftunreadbooks.binderybooks.com to find more information. And Michael, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on social media at michael.laborn, which is L-A-B as in boy, O-R-N as in Nancy. I am most active on TikTok and Threads, but I do also have an Instagram and a Blue Sky. So come follow me wherever you want to, whatever platform's your favorite, and let's have some fun.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining me, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @Must Love Books Podcast. Thank you and happy reading.